Conscious Parenting with Sandra Jones-Keller and family. Welcome back. Let's get you to reintroduce yourself, your show, and what's up for today.
Hello, Nicole. Thank you and Happy New Year. My name is Sandra Jones-Keller. I'm a conscious parenting coach and author. And joining me today is my husband, Thomas.
Hello.
So we are thrilled to be here with you live on News for the Soul Radio and on my YouTube channel, Sandra Jones-Keller. So we're live. Send in your questions. You can email your questions to ontheair@telus.net or call in to 646-595-4274. Maybe you have questions about discipline or tantrums or bedtime or being an empty nester. Whatever is on your mind, we'll do our very best to answer it from a conscious parenting perspective.
That is correct.
Oh, so our topic today, I was going back and forth about what I wanted to talk about. And I think the best topics are those that are on our heart. So
Yes.
Today's topic is bittersweet college winter break.
Bittersweet college winter break.
So why do you think I called it bittersweet college winter break?
Because we have had our daughter back for the first time since she left for her first semester of college, 1,000 miles away. And she's getting ready to go back up there tomorrow. And it's been wonderful being with her. And it will be sad saying goodbye to her again.
Yeah, and it's bittersweet because we miss her. I love having her home, and I don't want her to be here. And I don't want her to be here because she doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
You know,
you should explain that a little more detail.
I gotta go.
You make us sound like demons or something.
I don't think it sounds like demons. So she didn't like where we lived. It's too hot, and there weren't a lot of things to do for kids her age. And so she'd been talking for a couple of years. It's like, yeah, I want to go away to college. So she went away to college, and she has friends. She's in a campus environment where there are a lot of activities.
Yeah.
There's a small, cute little town that has thrift stores and restaurants and things that she enjoys.
Well, we live in the number one area in the country where you hear, there's nothing to do. I'm so bored. And it's true because it's mostly older
retired people. Yeah, there's a lot of activities for older retired people. But for teens and tweens and other kids, there's not a lot to do. So It's bittersweet because we love having her here, and she is ready to go, and we want her to be happy.
And we want her to go. We want her to spread her wings and create her life, while at the same time I can feel ambivalent about it, and I miss her, but we want her to go at the same time. That pull and push.
Look at
yin and yang.
I'm wearing my Christmas present from her. I want it to be close.
Oh, you're showing it off.
I'm showing it off. So Mecca is a great artist and loves to paint on fabrics. And so
did you tell them we're on YouTube Live?
I did tell them we're on YouTube Live. So if you actually want to see my awesome sweatshirt that Mecca painted, go to Sandra Jones-Keller, my YouTube channel. So for Christmas presents, Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, for the last couple years, we always ask her to paint something for us. And so I went out and bought a sweatshirt, and then I actually stole the design from him because he always finds these amazing designs, and then I just take them and then do it a little differently. And so this is a sun, and I told her it's like I want it to spread over the shoulder. I want it to come across the chest and down a little bit. And so this is my Christmas present that I'm wearing because I want it to feel closer to her. Uh-oh. Okay.
Listen, this is the design I came up with. And she stole it.
I did.
I did. Stole it. And
I did.
Had our daughter paint it on
but you can tell the difference. I mean, mine is much bigger. Yours is much smaller. And they're both beautiful.
Mine is much more attractive.
Oh, well, they're both absolutely beautiful.
But she's an awesome fabric painter.
We're live here on News for the Soul Radio. Our topic for today is bittersweet college winter break. But we are not limited to that. Call in with any conscious parenting or unconscious parenting questions that you have, and we'll do our very best to
Call in and email in your questions. That usually gets answered first.
on the air at telus.net. Okay, so what have you been feeling? She leaves tomorrow. She's been here for about a month. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, my thoughts are just what we've been expressing so far. I am happy she's back, and I am at the same time happy that when she's up there, she's thriving. She has many more friends her age and all kinds of activities, and the city is
Yeah,
a
but talk
large.
about your feelings.
I'm not done. The city is a larger city, so I'm very happy for her for those reasons. I
Mhm.
understand that. I lived in two, Los Angeles and Atlanta, two large cities. And my feelings are that I am sad that she's leaving. I'll miss her, and I have had it been great having her back. We picked up just like we had left off before she went off first semester, and yeah, it's sad at times, and it's melancholy, and it's also all fine that it's feeling that way. It doesn't have to feel great all the time, and it shouldn't necessarily.
So how have you changed?
Who, me?
Yeah, since she was gone off to college.
She's gone off to
Yeah, and
college.
have you noticed any growth in yourself? She left and came back, or you feel like you're still the same person?
I feel like I'm still the same person. Think of her as an adult now in many, many ways, and I treat her as one because I've seen this is now there she'll be entering her second semester. So I see now that she has survived and thrived the first semester. She was homeschooled her whole high school life,
No, her whole life.
her whole life, and she always is an only child and had the only bedroom. She was the only child in her own bedroom. Now she has roommates, and she has negotiated all of that to a pretty good point, and so she's learned so much that I just feel like it's definitely safe letting her go and encouraging her to go.
Okay, well, I feel like a different person.
Well, what kind of person do you feel
Well,
like?
Because I, watched her go away, and then she was sick for the first like 4 or 5 weeks of school.
Mm-hmm.
And normally I'm there to nurture her back to health, to do my energy work or get her tea or do the massage or whatever she needs. And I wasn't there for that. So that was really hard for me.
Right. Oh, okay.
And, but I learned that, and I'm going to start crying, but I saw that she took care of herself. Oh, I don't want your tissue. She took care of herself. And the whole time she was here, I've never had to take her to the doctor or to the emergency room for being sick. I mean, we go to the chiropractor and stuff, but I've never had to take her because she was sick, because I was always able to do all of my holistic, natural things,
essential oils,
whatever you name it,
all of it.
And so I wasn't able to do that. And we got a call. We knew that she wasn't feeling well, so we got a call. And she's like, I just left the nurse's office. And I was like, oh, like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, I took myself to the doctor because I was not feeling well.
And the nurse's office is on campus.
Yeah, on campus. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so after I got over my thing about, wow, she, had to actually go to the nurse's office, I was like, you know what? She took care of herself. Then she started the cough, which would not go away. And so she was taking Dayquil and all this other stuff that we normally don't take. And then she had to go back to the nurse's office, and she had pneumonia. So that was another initiation
which she responded well to with the antibiotics.
So she took her antibiotics, and then she went back. So she's fine now. So that was an initiation for me, who has always been able to do my energy work to get her back to health, to see that, okay, so it doesn't matter what it looks like, but she took care of herself. So that was good. And then so having her back, I'm very aware of not trying to fall into, and I probably have, but try not to fall into the old mother role of having to handle everything for her, take care of her, and do different things, because she's been living away from us for 4 months and has been doing very well. So I want to nurture the relationship with her as an adult. Well, an emerging adult. That's what they call them in school, and I love that phrase. As an emerging adult. So knowing that we're totally here for her, and then letting her like work things out and navigate. And this is the first time in her life where like it's not all about her. She's around a bunch of other students with a roommate and boyfriends and all this. And so she's had to learn that the world isn't centered around her, because she's our only child. So we catered to her. We enjoyed being with her and taking care of her. And she was always like a priority for us. And so then she gets into an environment where she's not a priority to people. And so has had to learn how to navigate that and be with that and negotiate that and negotiate living with a roommate. And so I do feel like I'm a different person, because when she left, you and I did a lot of binge watching of Grimm for a while, just to kind of settle ourselves. But then we did start blossoming and creating new things, and I'm taking a business training course that I'm absolutely loving. And so with that, so she came back, and I'm like, well, just an FYI, I'm not going to cook all the time. It's like my focus has turned over here. So I'm like, what meals would you like? So she gave me a whole list of meals, and I'm like, okay, I'll make those. And then it's like, we're spending a lot of time at Whole Foods now, because I'm working during the day, and sometimes I don't want to stop to make dinner. And so that was kind of, I think, a surprise for her. And she's had to adapt to, me not making dinner all the time, or not doing some of the things that I used to do. So I definitely a different person. Like I'm growing into honoring my life. Like you and I have created a life as empty nesters. And so we had kind of gotten into our, kind of rhythm. And so I feel like I have changed in that way.
I think that is not an uncommon experience, because typically, not always, the mother has a very different relationship with the child than the dad has.
Okay.
We both love her equally, but I am very clear my relationship with her is very different.
So what does that mean, though?
And I don't do as much cuddling with her as you do, and attending to her like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though we've always given her lots of self-responsibility.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go through that part of the transformation, because I had not done that. At the time, there was no need for me to step in and do it, because she was doing it all the time and willingly, and probably would have elbowed me if I tried to jump in there and help some. So it's just a very different relationship, and I don't think that's uncommon, and therefore it would be a bigger transition for you than for me.
Yes, I do agree with that. So we're live on air.
And notice that I now have one check mark for she agreed with me. I may need that later on.
Email your questions to ontheair@telus.net, or call into 646-595-4274. Are you saying that I don't agree with you?
And email us if you're having a similar experience, or if you're an empty nester and still struggling, or if child has just recently gone off. Ours only went to her first semester 3-4 months ago, and so it's new to us, and we're evolving through this change in our lives.
Yeah, we're evolving, and she's evolving. And what I see, though, is, a lot of parents talk about being helicopter parents, or like trying to work out everything. And
well, you were like a mini helicopter.
In what way?
In that she's our only child, and we generally do a lot of natural healing of colds and flus and stuff,
Yeah.
essential oils and all that. And so anytime she would have the least,
The what?
you know where I'm
No, I
going.
don't.
The least cough or hack or sore throat or anything, you were right there. You were on it
I was on
with
it.
your oils and your arnicas, and,
My homeopathic
which is
things.
I'm a big fan of. Absolutely fantastic. Anything to keep off the prescription drugs.
Oh, but you know what's so funny? So we went to go get her toothpaste or something, and like, oh, what are you using? And it was like Colgate or something like that. I'm
Up there in college.
yeah. And I was like, oh, then we were in Whole Foods. I said, well, do you want to get some, different toothpaste without the fluoride? She's like, no.
Check this out.
She's like, no, I'm fine.
Check this out. We eat pretty healthy, quite healthy. And then
and you're a pescatarian.
Our daughter spilled the guts while she was having a conversation with us, something about going to McDonald's and eating a Big Mac.
Oh, no, it wasn't a conversation. It was, we were coming from somewhere and it's like, are you hungry? Yeah. So we went and got in the McDonald's line and it was like, what do you want? Oh, give me a Big Mac and the Big Mac meal.
Beef. My God, beef.
Oh, so that was harder for you than me because I eat chicken. You don't eat meat. So I thought that was pretty. Okay, so talk about that. So we raised her vegetarian.
Well, wait a minute. No, we didn't.
No.
I raised her vegetarian up until 7 years old.
Okay.
And then at 7 years old, we gave her full self-responsibility for her
right.
food.
Okay.
Immediately, she goes to chicken, which mommy eats, and what else?
There's chicken and turkey products.
Chicken and turkey, which mommy eats. Yeah. Turkey bacon, which her mom is always eating. It's like she wasn't complaining up until 7. Man, but the minute I cut those reins loose, she goes right to it. And that's fine. I mean, at some point, everybody's got to determine what they need to and want to eat and what foods will nurture them the way their body needs to be nurtured.
Yeah, and I eat seafood and turkey and chicken, but I don't eat red meat or anything like that. Right. So it was just never in the house, if we would go out. And so she discovered the Big Mac.
She discovered the Big Mac.
Discovered the Big Mac and
it got her. And it got her.
And loves it. Okay, and so as parents, which I think that's a great transition though, in terms of we did our best from 0 to 18. And then now she's out in the world discovering what she likes and doesn't like, how she wants to eat, what she wants to take. And that. And it's like, keep my mouth shut sometimes. And then sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And that's just part of, I think, the transition that takes place. They leave us and we have a certain way of being, living, eating, and then they go off and then maybe they come back and they're very different diet habits.
Yeah.
Right. Like Big Macs and stuff.
Big Macs and boys.
Big Macs and boys and whatever. Okay.
Well, she discovered boys.
Okay.
I'm not going to say any more about that.
So anyway, so it's just about that letting go. And as parents, so I'm finding that it's always letting go. So even though she's an adult, there are still things that I may look at and it's like, what, it's none of my business. Or if she wants a Big Mac, let her have a Big Mac or whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, I think it was 2-3 weeks into college. It's like, oh, look what I got. Had a nose ring.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And then for Christmas,
zoomed a nose ring to us.
So she had her nose ring, and then for Christmas she wanted an ear piercing. So we went and got her an ear piercing and got her new jewelry for her nose ring.
Right. Right.
And I've heard other parents saying, "Oh, I can't stand those things, and I would never let my kid get them." And da 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 da. Well, they're 18, so
yes, they can have them if they decide they're going to have them.
Yeah.
And you can complain all you want, but it won't.
It won't what?
Oh, I'm sorry, I got distracted. It won't make any difference, and you do not want to create a rift between you and your child. The child is a burgeoning adult, and and as a conscious parent, I need to respect her as that, so that she has a space. If you want to talk about that energy and consciousness, so that she has a space to grow into herself and blossom more and more as herself, not as what I wanted her to be.
I was listening to a podcast today, a spiritual podcast, and the dad, the father to be, was asking, how can we best support our kids? And the guy was just talking about by being your authentic self and by following your excitement, so that you are an example of how to live life as a conscious being. And I thought that was so powerful because, too often I've seen parents trying to navigate from kindergarten to the right preschool to the right high school, planning out the life, or they're not living their life. And so they try to live those unfulfilled dreams and desires through their kids.
Right. Obviously know nothing about mirroring.
Well, okay, so do you want to say something about that since you brought it up?
This is a conscious parenting show,
okay.
So we are not going to just talk about life like it appears like it is out there in the world of appearances.
Okay, well, so say something then.
Here's the thing. It's a tool that we use, my wife and I and many other people. It's pretty common knowledge now amongst New Agers and metaphysical people, that everybody in our sphere of life is a reflection of our own consciousness, just the way it is. The good, the bad, and the ugly, all reflections of our own consciousness. So to get mad at somebody out here showing me something that's disturbing me in the old world would be fine, and that's what I did. But in the new world, I had to then ask myself this question. What is it about this person that's disturbing me inside? And where do I do the same thing inside me, either saying it out loud to somebody or thinking those thoughts in my mind? Because the only way this person can be disturbing me in this way is if it's already in my consciousness. And so when those moments happen, the key is those are actually golden moments, because when I get disturbed, I can then do self-forgiveness on that particular thing that's disturbing me, and it'll dissipate. The energy will free up to become life energy that we use for living instead of grievances and anger and hates and hurts.
So that's great.
What do you mean that's great?
Because now you have to make it tangible, because that is
that's the theory. Now let's
talk
about the tangible.
Okay, so we were just being us. And Mecca has said this a couple times. She's like, God, you guys like to bicker. You guys bicker a lot, right?
Yes.
And you got triggered by that.
I did.
You got very triggered by it. It's like, well, what do you mean, da 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 da? And so you finally said, well, you said to us that we bicker a lot. And so you were taking it as a
negative.
And she's like, oh, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I argue about insignificant, needless things too.
With her boyfriend and with other people.
So you were taking it as a negative.
Because I had a negative definition associated with the word bickering.
And she's like, oh, yeah, I do it too. And so you were able to see that she was, oh, no. And then you said, you said something. And she's like, no, it's a fact. Do you remember that conversation where she was saying, you said that's an opinion. She's like, no, that's a fact. Because I can, show you where you guys are bickering.
Okay.
And then she said, well, I do it too. And I think when she said that, you realize that she was making an observation.
Yes, I did.
and that it wasn't a negative, and that she wasn't putting us down. She was just pointing out something. Okay, we have some questions. Can you read
Good
that?
Lord, how small is that font?
I don't know, but can you read it or not?
Is that Lorena?
Lorraine.
Lorena in Boston. I'm so glad you're giving a place for this conversation. My my best became in. You have to read it. It's too small of a font for me.
Okay. Lorena in Boston. I'm so glad you're giving a place for this conversation. My best became empty nest almost 3 years ago. I grieve each and every time I have to say goodbye after every visit. Please tell me it gets easier and how I can soothe the pain deep in my stomach I feel every time I have to say goodbye. So, Lorena, we are saying goodbye in the morning. And I can already feel that it's not a deep pain for me in my stomach. It's like a sadness that kind of comes up. It's like, oh, I'm gonna say goodbye. She won't be here. I won't be taking her skating. We won't be going to bubble tea. She won't sit on the couch with me and like
keep going. There's a whole list,
and poke at my face, or she's not gonna pick on you, and all the things that happen. And for me, it's really, I appreciate all the little things a lot more now, because when she was living here, it was just the way it was. And so now it's like when I take her skating, I'm really there. And so now she's going back to school. She's going back to her life. And I will allow the tears to come up, the sadness to come up, and all of the other emotions. And I think maybe think of it as a grief, because it is a loss in a way. Your child is here and then they're gone. So, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to feel the emotion, to cry, to be sad. And then set the intention to live your life fully and completely, whatever that means for you. Mm-hmm. I have a talk, 3 things to do for yourself before your teen leaves the nest. And like number 2 is develop a self-care program. Do those things that you didn't have time to do before, and do those things that revive and rejuvenate you and make you feel good, like getting a massage or getting a facial or going to the gym or finding a yoga class or a meditation group or a book club. So self-care is very important when we are going through this transition, because so much of our energy as parents and as moms in particular goes into our children. Then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, see ya, I'm going back to school, and you're like left at the platform if you don't have anything planned for your life. So allow yourself to grieve, to feel, to go through all the emotions, and then start creating a self-care program. Start reclaiming yourself and your life. And I don't have an answer of, is it going to always feel like this, or how long does it take? It's different for every person. But as soon as you start putting that energy into things that excite you and things that you enjoy, and when you see your children thriving, then for me, that has definitely made it a lot easier. What do you want to say?
Yeah, because when you see your children thriving, that's a message from the universe saying what a great job you've done.
Yeah.
And that should really be honored and appreciated, that you have done such a great job. And the other thing is, I don't think there's any mistakes the way this whole lifeline of time is laid out. We have a phase where we're kids and we're totally dependent on our parents, and grow up and then go away and then start our careers and maybe fall in love and get married, have a child, and then we're parents for a section of our lives. But even that ends as the children go away. Then we have another section of life after the parenting life, which is not supposed to be wasted or left to die on the vine. That obviously has meaning because it is there in the universe for us. So I agree with you, grieving and all of that, but make sure you create some kind of life that you're really proud of, because you're in your next phase of life. We're in our next phase of life. There's no mistakes in the universe. we're meant to be here in this phase of our lives. So let's embrace it and live it and make it something extraordinary for us.
Yeah, Lorena, you have a life purpose that goes beyond raising children. And so I invite you to start thinking about what that possibly could be for you. That was one very important aspect to your life. So now what's next? You've done that. Your children are off living their own lives. So now what's next? And it's possible to find it. Each day you get up and you say, what excites me? Like, what would I like to do? And it could be sleeping in.
Little things or big things.
It's anything that excites you. It could be having coffee with a friend. It could be going for a walk. You know, I really enjoy my morning exercise. And actually, I've been doing intermittent fasting, and I really enjoy my intermittent fasting. So you could play with different ways of eating or try different foods, but there's a whole life for you to live. And so allow yourself to grieve, because it is sad, you know, seeing your kids go away. So allow yourself to grieve, give yourself that nurturing space that you need, and then start redirecting that energy so that you can find the life purpose that you have come here for. Anything else for Lorena?
No, I think it's well said and completely said.
Thank you, Lorena. We have Shelly in Tacoma. Are you going to try to read it? Well, sit back if you can't read it. Shelly in Tacoma. For me, the threads out there is what gets me going when it comes to worry over my kids. School shootings, date rape, drugs, and so on. This is a challenging time to send our kids into the world. I'm wondering if it's truly harder for this generation or if it was always relatively difficult. And how can we do this without having a nervous breakdown?
I think every generation has its
stuff,
its things, and I don't think this generation is any harder than the Highlander generation and the 1600s, 1900s. It's every generation has its challenges, and even with all the modernization and technology available to us now, our child, and I think most children, are so far ahead of us as adults with technology that our daughter and her group kind of dismissed social media completely, calling it and just not, you know, they use it a little bit, but they're more sophisticated with it than I am. And I'm more disturbed about social media than she ever is. And she's already past that. So I have a lot of high hopes for her generation and the next one. And then see very encouraging signs like that.
So Shelly in Tacoma, I definitely agree. There's just a lot going on out there. And for me, time feels like it's going really fast. Like everything moves fast and everything is available at, you know, on our phones. So which we didn't have before. So even if there was something that happened across the country or across the world, it would take days or even weeks, or we would never hear about it. And so I do think that where we are in this period of time, everything's faster because we have access to the whole world at our fingertips. Now, with that said, I think it's more important than ever to learn how to ground yourself, to develop some practice that keeps you sane so that you're not constantly being pushed around with the tide of whatever is going on in the world.
The media.
Oh, the media. The media will focus on one thing. I discovered this organization that is just doing amazing things in the world. And I'd never heard of it and would never even hear about the thing. So there are a lot of people doing a lot of amazing things to support the healing and evolution of this planet.
And you won't find them on TV.
And you won't find them on TV, and you won't find them on social media, or unless you're looking for them. And so tap in to that energy, because there are a lot of people here who are trying to make the world a better place. And so if you're looking at the news and getting afraid, stop looking at the news. Check in once a day for major news like fires or hurricanes or earthquakes or things that actually impact your life. And then learn a practice that has you feel grounded, that has you feel connected, that has you able to hear and follow your intuition so that you can teach your kids how to hear and follow their intuition. Like one thing we've always told Mecca, I'm like, if you go somewhere with your friends and it doesn't feel right, get out. I don't care what's going on. If it doesn't feel right to you, get out. And you want your kids to be able to feel and discern situations and people because we're not always going to be there with them. So I think our job as parents is to be grounded, to do our own practices, to do our own forgiveness work, to do our own mirroring work so that we're not bringing that negativity into our lives. So that when I see something on the news or happens to somebody and I get disturbed, I do my forgiveness work so that I'm clearing that energy out of my space so that I'm not attracting it to me or my family. And that's how I stay sane. And sometimes I do get afraid. We are parents and our kids are out there. And so, yeah, sometimes I do get afraid. And when I do get afraid, I ground myself. I pick an energy or run energy through my space for peace and calm and love. I do my forgiveness work. And then I tap in and feel like, is it me just responding to outer things, or is there something really I need to do, or is there something wrong? So anything else you want to add?
Yes,
to
I
Shelley
would say
Tacoma?
it's an age-old saying, and age-old books talk about it. Where we place our attention increases in our life, and there is as much good and great things going on this planet as there is scary and bad things going on. So to me, it's really important to keep my vibration high.
Absolutely.
And that means focusing on the good, because there's plenty of that out here. And that way, when my daughter is around me, she feels uplifted energetically. And even that rubs off on her as the way she looks at the world. So if you listen and watch the news, it's going to take you down every time.
Real fast.
15 minutes once a day. That's it. That's plenty to keep up with the world until you can look at it like it's a game show.
Yeah. When it comes to our babies, it's like, yeah, you feel it differently. And so I've developed, like I said, my tools. I use my tools, and if I'm feeling afraid, I dig deeper and deeper into my tools and doing my forgiveness work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shelley and Tacoma. And by the way, for those of you who are interested in getting more support or who would like to talk to me personally, I will be sharing how that can happen later on in the show.
Oh, good. I can't wait. I need some support.
I know you do. Kelly in Montana.
Oh, one sentence one.
No, we're up here. Kelly in Montana. My kids are all grown and gone several years back. I look at parenting today and can't imagine how much more scary it is for kids and parents in this day and age. This brings me to my two sons who are young parents. How can I introduce them to conscious parenting in a way they would be open to listening? I didn't know anything about it when I was raising my kids. We managed and got by, but I'd like them to have more tools in these tougher times. Well, that is exactly why I wrote these books. So 21 lessons to empower the new age kid, and we're actually showing it on my YouTube channel, but I'm telling you the title, 21 lessons for the new age kid. So this is a book of 21 lessons that I developed in my daughter's homeschool group. And they're meant to be done as conversations, but really this is about teaching kids the power of their thoughts, the power of their beliefs, the power of their actions. I talk about blame versus responsibility. I talk about affirmations and how we are always saying affirmations and they do work. For example, if you go around saying I'm stupid or life is hard or I never have enough money, that is exactly what you're going to create in your life. So 21 Lessons is great for parents, educators, group leaders to foster conversations that empower yourself and your kids to live a life that they love. Tips and Trips of Parenting a New Age Kid is a series of stories that talk about an alternative way to raising kids.
Tips and Trips of Parenting a New Age Kid is a second book.
Yeah, without screaming or yelling or pinching or hitting or any of that. So this was a family labor of love. Mecca actually wrote 5 stories. Our daughter wrote 5 stories. Thomas wrote 1 story, but Thomas did all the original illustrations. And then there's photographs in here from when Mecca was a newborn all the way up to 15 years old. Mm-hmm. And so that's a fun book because it brings in conscious parenting in a way that is not preachy. I'm not telling you what you should do or how you should do it. I'm giving you alternatives and showing how we taught our daughter how to self-regulate, how she had to get herself to bed when she was younger with, some guidance. So there's some typical issues you may have and some not typical issues, but it's really about fostering empowerment, communication, self-regulation. And so Kelly in Montana, that is...
I have something last to say. The best way you can influence your children and their children is to become the best living demonstration of what you are talking about. Don't try to teach anybody else. Be the living teacher of by being a demonstration.
Absolutely. Because I remember I was talking to a mom, and she was talking about, oh, yeah, my 3-year-old has started hitting and telling white lies. So I talked to her some more. I'm like, well, what's going on in the house? Oh, there's nothing going on in the house. And this is like, oh, well, I have been kind of whacking her on the arm when she misbehaves. And I have been lying about not having any more candy when she asked if she can have more candy. So instead of saying, no, you can't have any more candy, she's been lying and saying, I don't have any more. And so we talked, and she got to see how her 3-year-old was mirroring back her own behavior. So Thomas said the best demonstration is to be it. So if you're lying to your kids, if you're whacking them, if you're talking bad, pinching them, they are going to pick that up, and then they are going to mirror that back to you. Mm-hmm. So as Thomas said, so the best way is to be a living demonstration. So she had to knock off the behavior, because she could punish her daughter for white lies and whacking her on the arm, but that is just behavior modification. That will
not change anything for the long term.
Yeah. And so with conscious parenting, we're really about healing the situation. So if you want to heal the situation, you've got to heal yourself. You got to heal that mirror that's being reflected back to you that you don't like, so that your kids can be free. I hear moms all the time talking about their anxiety, how anxious they are. And then they're surprised when their kids start talking about being anxious and the anxiety levels. So you got to knock off the behavior in yourself that you're seeing, do your forgiveness work, and be the living example of what you want to reflect to your kids. So thank you, Kelly in Montana.
Now you read that next one. I'm going to hold both books up because that's exactly what this question
Julie
is.
in New York. Can you recommend resources for brand new parents so we can start conscious parenting from day one? That's so funny. Yes, Julie. Tips and Trips of Parenting.
Tell them where they can find it.
Okay, hold on. Tips and Trips of Parenting and New Age Kid is a great resource because it goes from 0 to 15. So you can start, we started trusting our parenting instincts and our daughter's eating cues while we were in the hospital. We were new parents.
During birth, right after
Well, not
birth.
during birth.
Right after birth.
We were in the hospital, and the nurse told us that we had to wake up our daughter every 2 to 3 hours to eat. So it didn't kind of sit right with me, but I'm a new parent. She knows what she's doing. So this is like the first night, second night in the hospital. I know
Right.
I had a C-section, so we were in there for 3 or 4 days. So we were good stewards and we followed the directions. So our daughter was sleeping soundly. We looked at the clock. Thomas went to wake her up. She screamed for at least a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
Screamed, would never eat. And then finally went back to sleep after all that without eating. And we looked at each other and we said, we're not doing that.
And we never did.
And we never did.
And you know what? As she grows old, she's never had an issue with eating too much or eating. She's great about eating
Self-regulating.
until she's full.
Self-regulating.
We never told her, eat everything on your plate. Or we told her to eat until you're full. And that's exactly what she's done. So she has so much better eating habits than I have, because I'm still have that old conditioning. Clear everything on your plate. You've got to eat it all.
Yeah. So Tips and Trips of Parenting a New Age Kid, available on Amazon, is a great resource because it goes and it's divided into sections: 0 to 3.
Okay, let me do this.
4 to 7.
You go on to Amazon.com, you type in Sandra Jones-Keller, and you'll get 2 books that come up.
8 to 12?
No, the first book is entitled 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid by Sandra Jones-Keller. The second book is entitled Tips and Trips of Parenting a New Age Kid by Sandra Jones-Keller. And you can read 3 sections on it and read the reviews.
So they're fun books and they're easy, and I love, Julie, in New York, that you really want to start off with conscious parenting. So just the desire, you've already created a groove in your brain to call forth the resources necessary to put you on your conscious parenting track. And by listening to this show. And so those are the resources that I would suggest. This is our 33rd episode of the Conscious Parenting Show.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got whole archives of information. I have articles on my website, Sandra Jones-Keller, and there's other YouTube videos available. So I have a lot of things to support parents because I am passionate about this. I see this new generation of kids coming in and they need parents and parenting tools that support who they are as these dynamic spiritual beings. And so we want to foster that growth and that development because a lot of these kids are coming here to do amazing things. And so we need to catch up with them so that we're being the way showers and helping them learn to navigate being here on earth.
Okay. Refresh that baby.
Thank you, Julie in New York. Let's see if we have any other questions. So we're live for another few minutes. If you have questions. And so I mentioned that.
Very good.
And so, you hear us talking about parenting, and I've mentioned that I'm a conscious parenting coach. And we all need coaches and we all need support. And especially if you're trying to do something that's different or outside of what your parents did or what your brothers and sisters are doing, what your friends are doing, then you need support. Just like I shared about the mom whose 3-year-old was pinching and telling white lies. You get to start seeing, when you work with a coach, you get to start seeing how your actions and behaviors are creating certain situations in your life. And so long-term transformation takes a while. And so we work with coaches. We work with coaches for better speaking, for working out, for losing weight. So working with someone like me to support you on your conscious parenting journey could be a huge benefit. I know some of you may be thinking, oh, I don't have the time or I don't have the resources, but how much is it costing you to continue to deal with whatever problem that you're dealing with?
Mm-hmm.
Now is the time. Our daughter is 19 now, and I cannot believe how fast the years have gone by. So you want to get the support that you need so that you can have the relationship and heal whatever is standing in the way from that peace and that joy and that intimacy that you want with your child. And you want to do it now, because when they're gone, it's kind of too late. They're off living their own life. So how much is it costing you not to have the support, or not to figure out what's missing, or how to have that drama-free household?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'd like to invite you for a totally complimentary one-on-one conscious connection call, where we'll look at your specific problem and we'll map out a mini plan to get you from point A to point Z. And so visit my website, Sandra Jones-Keller, on the Work With Me page, and you can book your free 30-minute conscious connection call so that you can get the support that you need right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see if we have any more questions. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully you see. Okay, let's see. Terry in New York. I've tried allowing my son to self-regulate with food. It's not going well. He's gained a ton of weight. I think he's got other issues that need to be addressed, but not sure what the next step should be. Any advice would be great. So Tara, we don't know how old your son is. So do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we let our daughter.
It's just limited time now at this point.
Yeah. So we let our daughter self-regulate her sugar at, was it 11?
11 years old.
Yeah, at 11 years old. And at 7 years old, we let her self-regulate, like, what kind of foods. And we didn't just, like, throw in the towel and say, here. We have been cultivating that with her. We've been giving her responsibility. We've been modeling behavior. So I've tried allowing my son to self-regulate foods. Okay, so you say you think he's got other issues that need to be addressed. So we don't have a lot of time, and I don't know how old your son is. But I will say the mirroring and forgiveness work is so powerful. And with mirroring forgiveness, you don't have to, like, figure out. You look to see what's showing up in front of you, and you forgive it.
That's disturbing you.
That's disturbing you.
Gotta be detailed.
That's disturbing you. And that is so, so powerful. Because if you think he has other issues, then look to see how he's behaving. Is he reclusive? Is he moody? Do your forgiveness work on absolutely everything that you're seeing. Start grounding yourself, asking your higher self for clarity and guidance, and then start tapping into his higher self and asking how to support him.
And another thing is, when we at 11 years old, let our daughter eat all the sugar she wants, she overate sugar. She started putting on a few pounds, and she actually overate so much that she had a quote unquote sugar coma.
Oh, she did, yeah.
Many hours of one of our drives, 2,000-mile drives from one spot to the other. But then after she went through that phase, she got sick of it and came back and started leveled off her weight, and has been great ever since. So it took her some time. We don't know how many years you have let your child deregulate his own eating. And so that was a general process our daughter went through. And we have to sometimes let them go through that wave so that they know where they truly want to end up being.
Yeah.
And don't judge them during that process, or you'll be judged as in mirroring. But
And that's a story called "It All Started with the Ice Cream" in the Tips and Tricks of Parenting a New Age Kid book, because we were mortified when we had talked about it, and each year we would give our daughter more responsibility, and so we took the reins off, and it was like woohoo, and so she was like shoveling sugar, looked like, and then one day we noticed that she didn't want dessert, she didn't want this, and she just said, I got tired of how I was feeling. I didn't have the energy to skate and do all the things that I wanted to do. And so she started self-regulating. So now she's off in college and she's got to work that out, because now she's got access to soda and candy and all sorts of things. So now she's got to work that out. But we create a safe container for our kids to figure out the consequences of their own behavior, so that they can begin to trust themselves and know that they can make decisions in support of the life that they want to live. And when they make decisions that they don't like, there's a safe container, and we're there for them as parents to guide them through. So that's kind of wasn't that short, but that's the short answer.
yeah,
Jerry.
I think we're almost out of time.
We are. So we have come to the end of our show. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Thomas, for being
My
here
pleasure.
with me. The Conscious Parenting Show is live the second Friday of each month here on News for the Soul Radio, and I oftentimes simulcast it on my YouTube channel. For more enlightening shows, visit the archives, News for the Soul. Tell all your friends, because there's a lot of people out there who would like a lot of support, and so I'm here for you. We're here for you. My books are available on Amazon, and so for more information about me, visit my website, sandrajoneskeller.com. Thank you so much, and happy parenting.